This movie definitely has a message it's trying to share, but it's not trying to force that message down your throat. Welcome back, everybody, to my 2 cents. And honestly, if you asked me if I was going to do a review of this movie like 3 weeks ago, I would have told you no. Because about 3 weeks ago, I had no idea what this movie was about, nor did I have really any interest of watching it. But as I started to see more of the marketing and the teasers for the film, I got a bit invested, I'm not gonna lie. And that movie is One Battle After Another with Leonardo DiCaprio. So is this movie worth your money, or is it just a waste of your money? So starting off with the characters, we obviously have Leonardo DiCaprio, who plays a man named Bob Ferguson. Bob Ferguson was once part of a revolutionary group called the French 75. Many years after he escapes from the government and all of the French 75 are all but dead or disappeared, the same colonel that took away his wife and his freedom has now found him and his daughter, and now he has to find a way to save his daughter without getting killed. I mean, we all know Leonardo DiCaprio always gives a good performance in just about any movie he's in, and in this movie, it's no exception. He's pretty much the whole reason anyone's gonna go see this movie in the first place, and his character of Bob is gonna be the whole reason you're gonna want to stay and watch because of how entertaining he is.
Well, they're just my friends.
Now, is that a he or a she or a they?
It's not that hard. They, them.
Okay, I just want to be polite.
I mean, having a guy who's a marijuana addict and an alcoholic trying to save his daughter leads to some funny scenes for a movie that is very political and has a very relevant premise to today. And that daughter he's trying to save is Willa, who is played by Chase Infinity. Yes, that is the actress's real name. And because I was so curious and had to look this up, and apparently she was named after Buzz Lightyear's catchphrase to infinity and beyond, and not after the credit card. But anyways, I digress. She plays the average daughter character of not liking her father because of how much of a fuck up he is, and she's just sick of dealing with all his paranoia and being afraid that something's always after him. And like her mom, she's a strong, independent woman who just so happens to get roped up in this messed up situation that was started by her father and her mother many years ago. But it mostly started because of her mom. I think Chase does a really good job at showing how alike Willa and her mother actually are. Because in a lot of movies, you'll see like the father and son dynamic or the daughter and mother dynamic where the whole movie is really trying to convince you that this kid actor is the child of this adult actor. And with a lot of movies, you're not really buying it. But Willa feels a lot like her mother in a good way. Speaking of Willa's mother, Tiana Taylor plays Perfidia Beverly Hills, and she is the unofficial leader of the French 75. Yes, that is her name in the movie. It's a weird name, I know. She is a badass character that is willing to do anything to achieve her goals, including some messed up shit she does throughout the movie that is kind of the whole reason the government is after Willa and Bob in the first place. We don't get a lot of her in the film, we mostly get to see her in the beginning of the film to set up the story. But what you do get of her is really all you need to know about her. I can't talk about her too much because she's kind of the main source of spoilers in this movie. A lot of what happens in the movie is kind of because of her and the actions of the villain of the story. I'll just say that Tiana did a great job on her performance, and you're probably not going to like her character by the end of the movie. Now, before we talk about the main villain of the story, I wanted to briefly touch on probably my favorite character of this movie, honestly, and that is Sensei Sergio, played by Benicio del Toro. Listen, I'm terrible with names, I'm sorry. Honestly, without Sergio, Bob would have no chance of finding Willa. When we first see Sergio, you just assume he's just Willa's karate instructor. But from what I picked up when I was watching the movie, I think he's actually been doing what the French 75 has been doing the whole time. He was just never a part of the group. He's just so nonchalant about everything that is happening and throws in those nice moments of encouragement and humor for both Bob and the audience when it is needed.
Freedom is no fear, just like Tom Cruise.
Now I guess we can talk about the son of a bitch that's after Bob and Willa, and that is Colonel Stephen Lockjaw, who is played by Sean Penn. He's part of a military operation that's kind of similar to ICE. See, topical. We'll talk more about that element of his character in a second. The whole movie, he's just trying to prove himself to these government assholes by capturing Willa and killing Bob. And honestly, being a racist is the least likely reason you'd want to kill this guy. Again, can't get into all the reasons why you'd want to kill this asshole. So I would just say that Sean Penn and Leonardo DiCaprio are definitely the standout performances of this film. And overall, I really don't have any complaints about the characters or the acting in this movie. All these characters were played pretty masterfully by their actors, and they invoke every emotion you should feel while watching the things that they're doing. Now let's talk about the story. Once upon a time, Bob, which actually isn't his real name, and Perfidia were part of a revolutionary group called the French 75, as I've already said, whose goal was to free immigrants from being detained by the US government. After a long and honestly successful run, eventually Perfidia gets caught by Colonel Lockjaw, and they eventually find all of the remaining members of the 75. But before Perfidia was caught, she had a child with Bob. And before the government could find Bob and his child, they disappeared. And like I said earlier, after many years, the government finds Willa at her high school, and now they take her, so now Bob has to save her. So yeah, this movie is all about immigration and how corrupt and racist our government is. A message like that would normally make me want to save my money for a movie that's a little less real, but the way they keep you interested is the family dynamic and the little bits of comedy in the film to make the film not take itself so seriously.
I need a weapon, man. All you got is goddamn nunchucks here. You know where I can get a gun?
Also, they portray the bad guys in almost this cartoonishly evil way. And when a film does that, that definitely helps with keeping a very serious subject and a very serious story a little bit more lighthearted so that you're not just sitting there depressed the whole movie. And it makes you think there's no way the government could be that evil. Right? And now, for the first time on this channel, I am bringing you a new segment on the channel. And this segment is going to be about a moment from a film that made me say, "Das money," which is basically like Blood Money, but it's just about my favorite scene from a movie and not my favorite kill. Obviously, spoiler free. So that's money moment, or I guess I should say moments from this movie that really stuck out to me were two in particular. The first one that really stuck out to me was the first time that Lockjaw got what was coming to him, which of course, because you want this guy to die through the whole movie, and when he finally gets his, you're like, finally, he's fucking dead. But another moment in the film that really got me was the ending. And I really liked the ending because it actually got me to shed a tear of happiness. Which I am a pretty emotional guy, but it still takes quite a bit for me to shed a tear at a movie. And honestly, my only major issue with One Battle After Another is just how long it is. This is almost a 3-hour movie, and they're just times where it feels like the movie is dragging for the sake of dragging the movie. There are some scenes that either aren't needed at all for the story to continue, or they were just dragged on way too long. Overall, guys, I think that One Battle After Another is a great movie. I'm not going to say it's Leonardo DiCaprio's best, and it's not a film I would honestly rewatch very often, but I would definitely say that this film is worth the ticket.
Viva la revolution!
And that's my 2 cents on One Battle After Another. Thank you guys so much for watching if you made it this far into the review. And I wanted to announce that next month is all about horror, baby. Starting either late this week or early next week, I am going to be posting as many horror-related movie reviews as I can. And hopefully I can release a very special horror movie review on Halloween. Also, going forward, I will try to make these reviews as short as I can. The next review might be a bit long, but that's because I didn't script it. I actually scripted this one so I could keep it short. Anyways, leave a like on the video if you liked the video, and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next review. See you later.